Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Barrens Chat podcast. I'm Todd, and with me tonight is my co-host Guck. This is a podcast about World of Warcraft by two guys who play it. Guck, some pretty big news coming out of Classic WoW. Wargames are going to be available to play. I think Classic already supports them, so we'll see when all the streamers and the big name people get tournaments going. A lot to be excited about there. How was your week?
It was a pretty quiet week. If you even look through like Wowhead or WoW News, there's not a lot of stuff that's new out there. Wargames is probably the biggest thing to happen recently outside of the ZG release. So that's kind of good. It seems kind of funny that it's something that just sort of slipped by people's radars. According to the article on Wowhead, a Twitch streamer, and not even one of the big classic WoW streamers. I mean, they might be big, but they're just not on my radar. Yes, Master X apparently says that back in February, the idea for Wargames and the spectator functionality was speculated, but because they found it in one of the PTR updates, but I guess no one really realized that it was currently available now. So right now, it seems like you can sign on, type in the /wargame command, and as long as you have the opposing team or the opposing team's leader on your BattleNet, you can just start up a wargame. It seems pretty cool. I really like the idea of within guild competition or between guild competition for the same faction. I think that's something that's really cool. And obviously, because Arena, we don't really have Arena, the idea of being able to spectate PvP is now something that's totally possible and worked into the war game kind of, I guess you would call it an interface. So I think this is pretty cool. I think it's something that people who don't participate directly in PvP can enjoy because of that spectator functionality. And then also it kind of adds to the element of performing, putting on a show, doing something cool with your group because, people are watching. It adds to all that. So overall, definitely a huge plus. I'd like to see this translate to more people getting back into Classic, especially because we saw a huge number of people come in for Phase 2. They were very disappointed with the way that the World PvP was playing out, or they were very happy with it, depending on how your server shook out. The population differences. So yeah, I would like to see the people that left around Phase 2 or the people that came in and got exalted AV and just kind of stopped playing because there wasn't anything else to do. I'm hoping those people come back purely for either the spectator aspect or, being able to compete within your guild to kind of establish a hierarchy of dominant PvPers.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel like that's something that's missing from retail WoW too. And it's something that we've talked about before. They should have a ladder, for guild on guild, organized teams, so you can see who reigns supreme. I think they're really missing out on in both classic and retail on a really competitive player base that likes to see where they are on the ladder and how they rank up to other teams in North America, Europe, and their battle group on their server. Just good competitive gameplay that I don't know, used to exist in WoW with the arena teams, and now instead you just kind of queue up as yourself. But I really think that they should look into bringing that back in retail and in classic with rated battlegrounds, with arena, and now with Wargames and Classic, which they could put in rated battlegrounds if they want. I know the no changes, so we probably won't see that. But I'm definitely excited to see what all these content creators Stay Safe and Tips Out, what they do with Wargames in their competitions. I mean, the Classic Duelers League is going at it again. They're donating money to charity. I think all proceeds are going to a COVID-19 relief fund. So, it's good to see content like that coming out of Classic, and I think it'll be awesome to see, BG tournaments. I think that'll be really cool just to see, what guilds and players get into it, and I really think that that's going to be awesome. it's going to be awesome for the content creators because right, it like obviously gives them the opportunity to generate more revenue with their content and grow their content and expand their reach. So really cool to see actually, like something I didn't expect and I think is a great addition.
Yeah, and one of the Blizz mods on the forums, Kyvax, which I think is one of the more prominent community managers for Classic, they made a blue post about this stating today, well, as we're recording this today on the 11th, we do not intend to disable the war game function in WoW Classic. So right now, my interpretation of that is you can sign on and participate in it if you have the teams for it. The second line, he writes, we may have some tweaks and adjustments to how it works, of course, and I think that's fine. I'm hoping what they mean by tweaks and adjustments to be maybe a spectator delay to prevent some form of cross-communication, even though I doubt that's really a big deal, and probably maybe aspects to how you get grouped up. Maybe they make the queuing faster because it's kind of like a manual queue where you have to /invite /wargame specific individuals. So yeah, I'm curious to see how they change it, if they make it more user-friendly or if they tweak something outside of what it seems they would do. But it seems like, this is how it will be, and this is what it's going to be for, however long they intend to keep it, which is probably the rest of Classic.
Yeah, and we've talked about it. Like, I'm just so pumped to see, like, how big are these tournaments going to get? Because that there's going to be tournaments for this. There's going to be streamers hosting tournaments, and there's going to be shoutcasting, and it's all going to be community driven, right? It's not going to be Blizzard hosting any sort of event like that. And, that really opens up for some new faces to get on into the community and really just see what this community is capable of as far as, hosting a big tournament like that, because it will come. We don't know when it'll come, but it will come, and I'm really excited to see that. Obviously, I'm not going to be participating. I haven't played Classic since Molten Core, and I continuously said I was going to go back to it, and I haven't because I'm enjoying retail way too much.
Yeah, I have a feeling that, Tips Out, maybe Esfond, maybe Asmongold, more so Tips Out than the latter two. I anticipate some big time shoutcasting from them to really hype up something. Any event really that is run by already very popular WoW streamers will get popular solely based on the audience that those guys already have. And then you couple that with it's a newly discovered feature. It's something that people who have been playing Classic WoW still are probably pretty desperate for, something new to mix in. I anticipate this to be something that becomes pretty big. So yeah, and it'll be one part from the really popular streamers who will inevitably stream this, and also just the fact that, we are desperate for new content.
Yeah, and it's something that will pull you through the lull. I mean, is it something you could see like yourself or your guild participating in?
My guild, I would anticipate some people getting into it, but the struggle I would see is because my guild is largely, for lack of a better word, they're like confused casual. They think that they're super hardcore and that they're like pushing cutting edge content, but in actuality, their effectiveness and their execution is pretty much like on the casual level. So I don't expect the competitive nature to really grip enough people for us to have a solid guild group. And the big issue that I would have is I want to see two guild groups that can go head to head. And I would guess that we'd only be able to field one. So no, I don't think I will end up taking part in a lot of this. I would probably, if I am going to get into PvP, I would get into the wargame setting because it's a much faster queue, right? If you pre-plan who you're going to battle and everyone's online and everyone's ready, it seems like you can just send out the invites and it'll get going right then and there. As opposed to the, hour plus AV queues that still exist. I forgot to check on the AV weekend. I think the queues got to be tolerable, but right after that weekend ended, we're right back to the hour plus queue. So I don't think that I'll participate in the standard PvP, but yeah, Wargames would be more likely, just because, yeah, I like that idea, but I don't know if my guild or the community that I play with on Crom Crush will really have something like that going. So we'll see.
Yeah, and the problem with something like that, unless you're playing in like a community event, like a hosted tournament, uh, nobody's gonna see your ranking or your like where your team is at as far as like how good you are or bad. And I think that, like I said earlier, that's an element that I think really should come into WoW. Obviously, it probably won't come into Classic, but if they brought that into retail with Mythic Plus and with rated battlegrounds and maybe even arenas, I think that would be huge for the player base to really have something to strive for and push themselves to, because like Diablo 3 has it with the greater rifts, and it used to be with arena brackets on back in Burning Crusade and Wrath with your arena teams, and it's just sad to see it go, because I think like it really will push people. Like right now, if you're doing a plus 20, you're really just doing it for a fractionable amount of Titan Residium, and to a lot of people, they don't really care about that. They're going to get their max 15 and then they're going to log off for the week. So I really think that they can really like generate a competitive community out of this if they add like a ladder system and like a competitive gameplay in RBGs and Mythic Plus specifically, and as well as Arena.
Yeah, I don't think we've got too much else in the classic world. The next big thing that we did get was a new aspect on the Shadowlands Alpha. So there are 2 new classes that are now available in Torghast, and I think out of the new stuff that we've seen from Shadowlands, I am most excited for Torghast. The new zones are going to be great. The new covenants, they're going to be great. I'm sure that they will hopefully understand the balance that they need to maintain between the covenants to make it feel as a effectual choice, and something that affects your gameplay without making you feel remorse for not picking one of the more effective ones. I hope they really keep that balance. So because of that, the one thing that I think they can just kind of take the brakes off and go and develop and do something fun is Torghast. While there will need to be some balance, it's something that they can tweak along the way that won't feel like, oh, great, I invested so much in this avenue and now I have to change everything up. This is something that is like a living, breathing game within WoW. Torghast, the way it works, because it's essentially like a roguelike type of encounter, to me it feels like Risk of Rain inside of WoW. They can very easily tweak the new anima powers. They can tweak the way that the Covenant abilities work within Torghast, and you won't feel remorseful for, not taking advantage of the old system or feeling nerfed or buffed going into the new patch of it. I'm just excited to see what they do with it. And now we can finally see 2 more classes. I think one of the fun things about any of these roguelike games is when you look through the items. And in this case, in Torghast, the items are the anima powers, right? So as you look through them, the thing that stands out the most about the Druid is that there are a lot of powers that are geared towards the different shapes, right? The beast shapes. So there are some Guardian Bear centric, there are some Moonkin centric, there are some that are cat form centric, but largely I feel like this is the type of partner that you want with you as you're going through Torghast. It's not necessarily like a very strong solo experience, but I think the Druid as a partner or in a group of people going through Torghast, I think that's going to be really cool. And Shaman, kind of the same thing, but they have so many more. If you look through the Wowhead article that's out there about this, the Shaman anima powers, there is just, I would say, at least twice, maybe 3 times as many that are out for compared to Druids, and I think it's just crazy cool. There a lot of them are kind of basic, buffs to your totems, increased damage, whatever it is, but there are some that are just super, super unique. Standing within 10 yards of a totem heals you, So, you don't even have to be doing your resto setup. You can just put your totems down and that will heal you passively. Earthquakes are larger, earthquakes last longer, earthquakes deal more damage. A lot of stuff that just kind of synergizes with all of the different shaman playstyles. And it just seems like a well-executed mini game inside of the game. And I'm just like, reading through this, I'm so excited to see every other class that they add. And I just don't think that once people really get into it, they're going to be like, oh, shucks. Blizzard didn't give druids enough anima powers. No, I think in time, they can just add stuff in. They can make them stronger. They can tweak it, and it's not going to feel bad. Like, the only thing that'll feel bad will be waiting between patches to get that new stuff that's down the line. I think Torghast so far is just like a huge home run.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm interested. I hope continuously as they continue to patch. And honestly, like, I don't know about you, like, I guess it's kind of off topic. I wish they would update the game more often with hot fixes. Like, if something is broken in the middle of the patch, I guess they do with, like, bugs. But, maybe, like, if, like, a spec or something is, like, really broken or not good, if they hotfix it and just change the numbers, but whatever.
Yeah. More frequent, smaller patches, I think anyone would get. Like, they should still obviously have the standard, like, 0.1, 0.15 type patch schedule, but there should be more frequent and smaller patches in between, and maybe reduce the size of the 0.5 patches to accommodate that.
Yeah, and I think, like, that would help with, like, just overall, just in general. Obviously, it would be a big thing for Torghast, right? Like, I think Shaman were broken, like, last week in it, and, like, they were just shredding everything, and now I think they nerfed them into the ground. I think I saw something like that, but Torghast looks absolutely incredible. Like, it's one of those functions, like, everybody who plays it, everybody who's on alpha just says that it's awesome. And I know a new wave of alpha invites went out, like, last week, and unfortunately you or I were not among them, but maybe one day we can be the fortunate few who get to test this system and make sure everything's good. I'm so pumped for that, and I'm, like, pumped to see how customizable your legendary is with it. Like, I think tying that into Torghast is awesome. It's just so, like, there's so much about Shadowlands that just looks so good that, like, I think, I don't know, I can't put it into words. It like, I'm just so fired up for this expansion release, and, like, just to get more information on it. I mean, we get a lot of cosmetic things, and I'm not a huge cosmetic player. I'm not a big transmog guy. Like, I use the same transmog for, like, 2.5 years on my character, so that's not really me. But, like, so the cosmetic updates are just whatever. Like, when I see gameplay updates, I just totally absorb them all, and I'm watching everybody play through Torghast and all these random classes. So just so much to be excited about, and just so many cool things coming with the game.
Yeah, another aspect of the anima powers that I feel really just reminds me of quality Risk of Rain style gameplay. There's these two different avenues that you can kind of go down if you look through the shaman anima powers. There's this one called Secret of Living Flame, where if you take that anima power, your fire elemental will last indefinitely, but you can no longer cast frost spells. So that means no frost shock, no elemental blast, ice fury, whatever. So that's one avenue, right? You could go fully into, the fire and non-frost themed anima powers, expecting to get a Secret of Living Flame drop. That might happen. Or you can take this other one, which I think is good to feed into that. You could probably make this work with the fire spec, or also going kind of more frost pseudo spec inside of Ellie Shaman. But Thermal Harmony will cast a frost shock whenever you cast flame shock. So you can still use flame shock with Secret of the Living Flame, and then you still also get a frost shock proccing off of that. So you can plan for some really crazy combinations of things. Totemic Calling, placing a totem causes you to drop another random totem. And I'm assuming this doesn't lead up to the maximum number of totems that you have. I think this is in addition to that. So you can stack a ton of crazy totems. You can get the one where being near your totems heals you, so you don't have to heal yourself. Like, there are just so many cool combinations of different unique anima powers that all feed into each other. It's clear that they have a really clean idea as far as how does this class or how does this spec play and how will that be fun in a Torghast environment. This to me is the most recent Mythic Plus, right? The fact that they added Mythic Plus in Legion and it just exploded and it was fantastic still in BFA. We're going to see it be fantastic again in Shadowlands, I'm sure. I'm hoping we get something like Torghast in perpetuity. I hope that this becomes a game system that the player base loves so much that they find a way to incorporate it or to update it. Hell, I would even be fine with Torghast staying relevant in expansions beyond. It just requires you to, take a portal from a capital to go back into the Shadowlands and go to Torghast itself, and they just continually scale Torghast with the new expansion. I would be totally fine with that. They don't have to invent a new one. I would gladly, in 10 point whatever, go back to Shadowlands to play more Torghast if it's something that they updated. I think that would be stellar. I would love to see Torghast be the new Mythic Plus.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know about Mythic Plus, but that's something that they missed with the Mage Tower too, right? This awesome system that they had, it was a challenge. Even if you were geared and trying it on a different class, right? If it's not your main, it's obviously a steeper learning curve. And, just the idea of getting that cosmetic reward really pushed a lot of people. And I think that's a system they really missed out on in BFA, and I would have liked them, I would have liked to see them build on it in BFA, and I think they really missed an opportunity there.
Yeah, I totally agree. The Mage Tower was so much fun, and they could have done it with Horrific Visions, right? They could have made it so, maybe there's a fifth, a sixth mask, right? And the only benefit to doing a sixth mask is that it will be ludicrous difficulty, but you also get a unique cosmetic reward that is only attainable through doing the sixth mask. Something like that would have been totally doable.
Yeah, throwing those masks on, make it so hard, dude. It's you can make the smallest mistake and your run is over. It's so punishing and so rewarding when you complete it. Obviously, there's people that probably have no trouble with it. I'm not that good. I'm not a very skilled player. I'm mediocre at best. So when I complete those big mask runs, it means a really big deal to me, and I think it's awesome.
Yeah, and I think, just like how you said it, that is exactly why people liked the Mage Tower. It was punishing, it was difficult, you had to be deliberate and very skilled with what you were doing. And the reward was something that didn't make you immensely better in the game, but it gave you some form of social currency, which in a game like WoW is actually valuable. It's still an MMO. There's LFG and LFR, so you don't need to integrate into a social group, but still, there is social currency, and something like a unique skin, a unique weapon transmog, that stuff is awesome. So, yeah, definitely a huge missed opportunity. I would say they didn't work it in largely because all of the developers and the players are ready for BFA to be over. So hopefully we see something cool like that come back in Shadowlands, fingers crossed, but I don't expect it. I feel like we had the opportunity to make that be kind of a staple, the same way that they made Mythic Plus a staple. But since we didn't see it in BFA, I'm not entirely certain we'll see another Mage Tower return or a Mage Tower equivalent. Yeah, this week was kind of light on content. We got 2 new classes in Torghast. More of the regular stuff, clearing the same content in Classic, going through and clearing the same content in Retail, going through Mythic Plus. So I think that is it.
All right, thank you for listening, guys. Remember to comment and rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, on Barrens Chat Pod, at Pondbeat. Jesus Christ.
That's not it. I'm leaving that in. That in, by the way.
That was brutal. I have to go find the website right now.
baronschat.podbean.com. You can tweet at us at baronschatpod, and we will see you guys in the next one.